Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt that unshakable sense of joy? Not because of success, not because of money, not because of applause, but just because you were aligned with something bigger than yourself. What if I told you that science, yes, modern neuroscience, is now confirming what ancient wisdom and spiritual masters have taught for thousands of years, that there's a code inside you, a design for happiness wired into your brain and soul? This is not just woo, this is biology and belief colliding. And if you understand this link, you don't just feel happy, you become unshakably fulfilled. So let's go on a journey together where science meets soul, and you discover the truth behind your brain, your spirit, and your happiness. See, for most people, happiness feels like a lottery. Like you either wake up and feel good, or you don't. But neuroscience has revealed something extraordinary. There are neural pathways, specific circuits in your brain, designed to fire when you experience gratitude, compassion, love, connection, and purpose. What's fascinating is that spiritual practices, meditation, prayer, breathwork, even acts of kindness, activate these exact same circuits. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a spiritual practice and a scientific protocol, because at the deepest level, they're connected. It's not science or spirituality. It's science explaining spirituality. Think about it. When monks meditate for hours a day, they're not escaping the world. They're restructuring their brains. When you pray with deep emotion, or you serve someone selflessly, or you practice true forgiveness, your brain releases dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin happiness chemicals, not from external rewards, but from inner alignment. And here's where it gets powerful. You can train this. Happiness isn't a mood. It's a muscle. The more you tap into practices that align your mind, body, and spirit, the more happiness becomes your default state, not your reward. Let me share a story. A man came to one of my events. High achiever, big money, massive success, but inside, empty. He'd built the outside, but never fed the inside. We worked with him to unlock the emotional patterns he was running. We taught him gratitude conditioning. We connected him back to his values, his purpose. He started each morning not with email, but with meditation and intention. In 60 days, the man didn't just feel better, he became better. He was radiating peace, energy, joy. Why? Because he activated the loop. Neuroscience aligned with spirituality, producing deep happiness. And this isn't just for monks or billionaires. It's for you. When you align your nervous system with your spiritual purpose, when your mind stops running the story of fear, doubt, and stress, and instead locks into love, gratitude, presence, you come alive. So here's my message to you today. Happiness isn't luck. It's strategy. It's not magic. It's alignment. The unexpected link between neuroscience, spirituality, and happiness isn't some abstract idea. It's the path to freedom. You don't need to find happiness. You need to activate it. You've already got the wiring. You've already got the power. The question is, will you use it? Start today. Wake up tomorrow with intention. Breathe deeply. Be grateful. Speak love. Meditate, move, pray, serve, and watch what happens when you unlock your brain. Awaken your spirit and reclaim your joy, because when your brain and your soul unite, you become unstoppable. Let's go make that shift. And let's live fully right now. Happiness is a trainable state, not a random emotion. Most people live under the illusion that happiness is something that just happens, or doesn't. They wait for the perfect moment, the right person, the big promotion, or a major achievement to feel good. But neuroscience has proven that happiness is not a reward, it's a habit. It's a set of neurological patterns that can be cultivated, reinforced, and made stronger. Just like a muscle, your brain operates on what you feed it consistently. If you consistently feed it stress, fear, self-doubt, and comparison, those pathways grow stronger. But if you feed it gratitude, presence, compassion, and positive focus, those circuits grow stronger instead. Your thoughts and emotional habits literally sculpt the architecture of your brain through a process called neuroplasticity. That means your mind is not fixed, it's flexible, adaptable, and capable of being reconditioned. Training happiness doesn't require massive life changes. It starts with small, intentional practices done daily. Something as simple as writing down 3 things you're grateful for each morning activates the part of your brain responsible for positive emotion. Breathing deeply and focusing your mind for even 5 minutes a day begins to shift your brain's default from chaos to clarity. Choosing to serve someone else, even in a small way, floods your system with oxytocin, building trust and connection. What's most important is consistency. Just like going to the gym once won't change your body, practicing happiness once won't change your brain, but doing it daily, that's transformation. You train your mind to look for what's right instead of what's wrong. You teach your nervous system that joy isn't dependent on circumstances. It's something you create. And as you reinforce these patterns, happiness becomes less of a fleeting moment and more of a permanent trait. Even in times of challenge or stress, people who have trained these happiness patterns bounce back faster. They're more emotionally resilient, more adaptable, and more connected to their sense of purpose. The beauty of this is that anyone can do it. It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you start. Spiritual practices activate the same brain circuits linked to joy and fulfillment. Modern neuroscience has uncovered a fascinating truth. The rituals and disciplines that have existed for thousands of years in spiritual traditions are not just symbolic. They are biological tools. When someone prays deeply, meditates consistently, engages in heartfelt gratitude, or practices forgiveness, their brain lights up in the same regions responsible for feelings of peace, satisfaction, and inner joy. These are not just emotional responses. They're neurochemical reactions that can be measured, repeated, and strengthened. Take meditation as an example. Functional MRI scans show that regular meditation increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for focus, decision making, and emotional regulation, while decreasing activity in the amygdala, which processes fear and stress. That means a consistent spiritual practice can actually reduce anxiety and increase mental clarity. Prayer has a similar effect. Studies show that deep, emotionally connected prayer can release dopamine and serotonin, the same chemicals associated with happiness, pleasure, and emotional stability. Gratitude, a core spiritual value, has also been shown to increase dopamine production and activate the brain's reward centers. People who practice gratitude regularly are more optimistic, sleep better, and have lower levels of stress hormones. Forgiveness, another foundational spiritual act, has been linked to lower blood pressure, reduced cortisol levels, and increased feelings of emotional well-being. Even simple acts of kindness, which are often encouraged in spiritual teachings, have a direct impact on the brain. Performing kind acts releases oxytocin, also known as the love hormone, which fosters trust and connection. These emotional shifts are not abstract. They're tangible biological events that rewire your brain for happiness and fulfillment. The powerful link between these practices and your brain chemistry explains why many people who engage in consistent spiritual routines report greater resilience, peace of mind, and purpose. Their brains are operating on a higher level, not because of their beliefs alone, but because their daily rituals are training their nervous systems to stay in states of love, compassion, presence, and gratitude. What neuroscience is now confirming is that spirituality isn't just good for the soul. It's essential for the brain. It doesn't matter what your background is or what path you follow. When you engage in practices that foster connection, presence, and love, you are literally turning on the circuits in your brain that are built for joy. Gratitude, meditation, and compassion rewire the brain for long-term happiness. These are not just feel-good concepts. They are strategic tools that create lasting changes in your brain's structure and function. Neuroscience has shown that when you practice these behaviors consistently, You literally reshape the neural pathways in your brain, building a more resilient, joyful, and peaceful mind. Gratitude is one of the most powerful entry points. When you focus on what you're thankful for, especially when done consistently, you activate the brain's reward center and stimulate the production of dopamine, the same chemical that is released when we achieve something meaningful or experience pleasure. But unlike external rewards, gratitude creates an internal feedback loop that sustains emotional well-being. It shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant, training your mind to see opportunities and beauty instead of problems. Meditation takes that rewiring even deeper. By repeatedly returning your attention to your breath, a mantra, or a point of focus, you strengthen the brain's prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for self-awareness, focus, and regulation of emotions. At the same time, meditation lowers activity in the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for overthinking, rumination, and self-criticism. With regular practice, meditation helps reduce stress, anxiety, and depressive thought patterns, creating space for inner peace and joy to emerge naturally. Compassion adds another dimension to this rewiring process. When you extend kindness, whether to yourself or others, you activate the insula and anterior cingulate cortex, parts of the brain linked to empathy and emotional bonding. Acts of compassion trigger the release of oxytocin, creating feelings of warmth, trust, and connection. Over time, people who actively practice compassion develop a more secure sense of identity, deeper relationships, and a greater sense of meaning in life. What connects these three practices, gratitude, meditation, and compassion, is their ability to interrupt the brain's survival-based default programming. Instead of operating from fear, scarcity, or stress, you begin to operate from love, abundance, and presence. These practices are like mental workouts. Just like you can strengthen your muscles through physical training, you can strengthen your emotional intelligence, inner peace, and happiness through these deliberate habits. The science is clear. Happiness doesn't just happen. It's created through consistent practice and deliberate rewiring. Gratitude, meditation, and compassion are the tools that make it happen. Science and spirituality are not opposites. They are complementary forces. For too long, people have viewed science as the domain of logic and facts, while spirituality was relegated to emotion and belief. But in recent years, groundbreaking discoveries in neuroscience, quantum physics, and psychology have started to reveal something remarkable. Many ancient spiritual principles are being confirmed by modern scientific understanding. These two worlds aren't in conflict. They're two lenses through which we can understand the same truth. Neuroscience, for example, shows us that the brain is malleable. It can be rewired through focus, intention, and repeated practice. This idea mirrors what spiritual traditions have taught for centuries, that transformation begins within, and that through discipline, mindfulness, and inner work, we can change our experience of the world. Meditation, prayer, gratitude, visualization. These aren't just spiritual rituals. They're practices that physically change the brain's structure, calming the nervous system, increasing emotional resilience, and promoting well-being. Quantum physics has also opened doors to new conversations about the nature of consciousness, perception, and energy. Spiritual teachings have long said that we are all connected, that our intentions matter, and that what we focus on, we create. Science is now exploring how observation affects outcomes, how energy shifts with attention, and how the universe might be more interconnected than previously imagined. These ideas don't disprove spirituality. They support it with new language and tools. Moreover, psychology has validated the power of belief, the importance of purpose, and the healing capacity of love, forgiveness, and compassion, all foundational elements in spiritual traditions. When a person believes they are connected to something greater, when they live with a sense of meaning, when they forgive and let go of resentment, their physical health improves, their relationships deepen, and their quality of life elevates. This convergence of science and spirituality offers a new model for human potential. We are no longer forced to choose between being rational or being spiritual. We can be both. We can use science to measure what's happening inside us, and we can use spirituality to guide how we live, love, and grow. When you combine the precision of science with the wisdom of spirituality, you unlock a whole new level of understanding, a deeper truth that speaks to both the head and the heart. Inner alignment between mind, body, and spirit creates lasting fulfillment. Fulfillment doesn't come from external achievements alone. It arises when every part of your being is in harmony. When your thoughts are aligned with your deepest values, when your body is energized and clear, and when your spirit is connected to something greater, you experience a level of peace and joy that external success can't match. This alignment isn't accidental, it's intentional, and it requires awareness and action across all three levels. The mind is where your thoughts, beliefs, and stories live. If your mental narrative is filled with fear, scarcity, or self-judgment, then no matter how much you achieve, you'll feel empty. But when your thoughts are aligned with gratitude, presence, and possibility, you begin to see the world differently. You stop reacting and start creating. You shift from survival mode to a state of empowered clarity. Reframing your mental patterns is a crucial step toward inner alignment, and it starts with conscious thought and reflection. The body is your vehicle, your energy source. When you neglect it, your mind and spirit suffer. But when you nourish it through movement, breath, hydration, sleep, and mindful eating, it becomes a powerful foundation for joy and vitality. Physical practices like yoga, breathwork, and even daily exercise don't just strengthen the body. They regulate your nervous system, reduce stress hormones, and increase the brain's capacity for calm and focus. A vibrant body supports a clear mind and an open heart. The spirit is your connection to purpose, meaning, and something beyond the material world. It's not about religion, it's about resonance. When you act in alignment with your deepest values, when you serve others, and when you honor the part of you that craves growth, love, and contribution, you awaken the spirit. Practices like meditation, prayer, stillness, time in nature, or acts of service connect you to this higher dimension of yourself. They remind you that you're not just surviving, you're here to live deeply and meaningfully. When mind, body, and spirit are misaligned, life feels heavy, disconnected, and chaotic. But when all three are aligned, life flows. You feel centered, clear, and grounded, even in the face of challenges. You become more present, more powerful, and more connected to your truth. You already have the wiring for happiness. Activation is the key. Inside your brain is a complex network of pathways designed to support joy, love, peace, and fulfillment. These aren't theoretical concepts. They are physical systems that can be measured, observed, and influenced. The truth is, your brain is biologically equipped to be happy, but it requires conscious effort to activate the right circuits consistently. It's like owning a high-performance vehicle but never turning the key. You've got the engine, but it's your job to start it. The human brain contains what neuroscientists call the default mode network, which often pulls you into worry, comparison, and self-criticism. But it also holds powerful centers like the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system that, when engaged correctly, produce dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, in the very chemicals that create feelings of happiness, connection, and satisfaction. These systems respond directly to your thoughts, behaviors, and emotional patterns. You don't need to wait for external circumstances to change. You have the power to change your internal chemistry by how you live and what you focus on. Practices like mindfulness, gratitude, breathwork, and acts of kindness activate these happiness systems. When you express appreciation, your brain lights up in areas associated with reward and contentment. When you take deep, conscious breaths or sit in stillness, your nervous system moves from fight or flight into rest and digest, triggering a state of calm and balance. When you help someone else, your body releases oxytocin, making you feel more connected and fulfilled. You don't need to invent new tools. You need to consistently use the ones you already have access to. The problem for most people is not that they're broken, but that they're distracted. They spend their energy chasing things that don't activate their inner fulfillment systems. Social media, mindless entertainment, overwork, and material pursuits might give momentary pleasure but fail to reach the deep circuits where true happiness lives. Activating your wiring for happiness means making daily choices that support inner growth. It's about slowing down enough to listen to your body, challenging your negative thoughts, reconnecting with your values, and being present with the people you love. It's not a one-time fix. It's a daily practice of engaging with life in a way that brings your inner joy to the surface.